Hey everyone, you're listening to Dirt Grow Podcast with your host, David Buurma. All right, I'm super excited to interview our new guest today. He is a farmer, now retired, got up to 4,000 acres in the heart of his career, went from 0 to 4,000 acres in 25 years, and raised 12 children, has over 30 grandchildren, and is now focused on his journey of delivering Bibles and a spiritual journey through that. And he delivers 100,000 Bibles a year through the community of Southwestern Ontario. And so I'm super excited to introduce my guest, my father, Harry Buurma. You're delivering Bibles, Dad, to different stores and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, retail stores, mostly pizza shops, right? Varieties, Chinese stores, whatever.
Yep.
Just whoever is a proprietor, so they can allow the Bibles to basically putting Bibles in little boxes that people pick up. So it's not as if they're just sitting there. So
right.
They have to pick them up themselves. They're not put in mailboxes or that kind of thing, which is hopefully not annoying people with them, but just as they want them, they can pick them up.
Yeah. So what's exciting, Dad, as we get older, as your sons get older, we start thinking things a little differently. And the one thing that's really incredible, what's really is that I realize now how much you thought outside the box, right? All your life, right? Yeah. Everything was thought outside the box, and I know, we as men think we're always right? And my question is right now, how many things that you thought were right when you're 30, do you think you're right now? Of those things that you were at the age 30?
In general, there was a lot of things, but you didn't see the path, eh? So back up 2 steps here. Even in school, the teacher asked me one day, he says, "What do you think of humanity?" Looking at it as an outsider. And I thought he was insulting me, but I thought, wow, this guy understands me. And I've always puzzled about the choices that society makes, that people make, that they just didn't make sense to me. But that was really a privilege for me because I saw things differently than other people did. And that's really where my main privilege in life came from.
Right. So you've done a lot of reading, Dad, and I understand, though, that you didn't really necessarily enjoy school. That was wasn't a pleasurable experience.
No, the happiest day of my life was the day when the bus went by without me on it.
Right.
Yeah, so it wasn't the day I got married, it was the day the bus went by.
So the background, Dad, you did do a little bit of college, did you not, after high school? What'd you do?
I thought, something more specific to agriculture. I thought, at least I'll like that. Right. But that didn't work either.
So did you just spend a year? Or
no,
not even
until Christmas.
To Christmas.
Yeah,
You're done.
Yeah, I graduated early.
Yeah. Interesting. So Grandpa Opa, he was a dairy farmer, correct? And you didn't really like the way he farmed. That was not appealing to you. Hard work and all that kind of stuff was not something that you were appealed to.
No, my dad always had a passion for work. Really good guy, but loved to work. And I never had much passion for work. I always thought, there's got to be an easier way.
Right.
Now we're into anything. And we did what he needed to do, but there had to be a better way.
Yeah.
And
he would enjoy actually just going out there and digging a tile in the ground, right?
Yeah, that was his greatest joy, was fixing a water hole and digging it in all by hand. That was wonderful. I didn't get that.
Yeah, right. So you, Dad, got married when you were 22, 23. Or age were you not? What age were you when you got married?
It's 22.
22. And then you started some businesses after that?
Oh, no, when I was 21, I got a job working for the local dairy equipment dealer. And then 3 years later, he was a middle-aged older guy, and I took that over. And I spent real fast forward in the farm supply business. I literally spent 25 years, but also 25 years in farming, but 10 of them lapped over. Okay, so technically, there was for a 40-year career, I had two 25-year careers.
Got it.
So 10 years was a lap.
Right. So, but you got into some other businesses though, did you not?
I don't want to talk about that.
There was like a laundromat and some, carpet cleaning businesses and stuff like
Who
that.
told you about that?
Yeah. I think it wasn't super successful though. Was it?
No. Actually, my first business it wasn't really. It was a people business, in such that sales and that kind of thing. My kids are better at that than me.
You mean first business being what, Dad?
I really wasn't. I really hated to have the phone ringing.
Right.
I really.
So you're talking about the chemical supply for the surge and dairy supply and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like it was not it was hard. It wasn't at first it was good, but eventually it got to be really, really hard. And then oldest son took that over eventually, and it was home base for him. He thoroughly enjoyed that, I was so glad that I didn't have to do that anymore.
Right. So that was equipment for farmers. That was the background. And every year you're in business, if you took the average all the years in the business, would you say that the highest paid employee made more than you or less than you?
Oh, yeah. I was the poorest paid person around. Yeah.
So you're saying that you're not the highest paid person at work those 25 years on average.
No.
Your employees got paid more than you on average.
But again, I got what was left, eh?
Exactly.
But I wasn't.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know of a better plan. And,
right.
So. Yeah.
So out of the assumption that most people they think that, owning a business, you're going to be successful, you're going to make good money, all that kind of stuff, was not the case for you.
No. Like I eked out a living. The first few years were really quite good,
right.
like the first 5, 6, 7 years. But then I couldn't reinvent it quick enough to get to where I needed to be at all. It didn't work.
Right. So tell me the story. Why did you think that you wanted to get back into farming, buying land? What was like? Was there something you thought ahead of time that said, "Hey, I should buy land. It's good to own land." What was the motivation there, or was there any?
Yeah. Well, in the 70s, I was married. I was married in 73, and so we did buy a little farm when we got married, and that turned out okay, and so on. But the problem was that I was in business, so I didn't have extra money. And but in those days, agriculture was wonderful, and land went from 200 an acre to 2,000 an acre from 1970 to 1980.
Yeah.
But what happened is then the 20% interest hit, and land went back down to half of that. So it was about 1,000 an acre by 87, and we were buying land starting in 87 at about 600-700 an acre. But it was the poor land. It wasn't the better land.
Yeah. So you bought the first farm in the 70s. Did you end up selling that farm? In the high, did you buy low, sell high, or you kept that farm all the way through?
We bought a farm to live on. Yeah. So the first one we bought, we only had it for about a year or so because the house was really bad on it. So we bought where we live, actually across the road from where we live now, so we paid $20,000 for the first farm and $48,000 for the second one, but it had a decent house on it.
Right.
And so that's where we raised our family mostly, and
So what was the idea? Why did you say, "Hey, I should buy more and more land"?
No, I didn't at that time.
No.
I would like to have, but it was out of reach. It was I bought
in the 70s you're talking about, or the 80s?
70s. You couldn't do it. It got away on me, and I thought, well, if the opportunity ever availed itself that I was in a situation, I would get involved the next time.
Right.
So then in the late 80s, I noticed that accidentally the land was selling for under 1,000 an acre again, and I thought, that's interesting. So we bought a little bit of land.
By that time, interest rates were what, Dad?
It's about 12%, 12, 14,
okay.
maybe 12. Yeah. They were down from 22 down to about 14 at that time.
Right.
And but still, crop prices were just the same. Beans were about $6 a bushel, and corn about $3, and it was. But then what happened is no-till was invented. And I thought, that's interesting. Like I never had much ambition, and I thought, well, maybe I could do that. And it was really a simple way of farming. I thought, well, maybe. Okay, so that was really what intrigued me back into agriculture.
So previous to that, people would be disking their fields
plowing
every year.
everything was plowed. Everything
year.
that wasn't everything was plowed every year. Wow. Corn stalks, everything, and even when you started no-tilling, leaving corn stalks out for the winter. That seemed really only bankrupt farmers were left out.
So in people's mind, if that cornfield was left over, that guy's going under because he can't afford.
Yeah, the bank doesn't plow the fields. So.
Right.
Yeah.
He couldn't afford to go even to plow it. That was the type of thought.
No, that's right.
And so you come into the 80s, interest rates are 12%, and you're starting to buy land. It was still a struggle.
Oh yeah, I didn't make any money out of it. It was a really neat hobby at that time.
So you done it because of the enjoyment of farming?
Well, farming and learning, and it was really novel, and it didn't take a lot of work or whatever. But it was really, it was really interesting.
It was they simplified it through no-till.
Yeah.
You get your head around the numbers, the financial numbers.
Yeah, like cost management, basically. Yeah. The cost per acre was, the land price was, if you have 600 an acre, 12%, about $85 an acre was your yearly land cost, another $5 or so for taxes, and you could make that work. Right. It wasn't real profitable. I think my break even on soys was around 24 bushel, and we ended up getting about 32. Right. It wasn't really great, but hey, got us by.
You always kind of like tell us that we're a little too ambitious once in a while, right? Your sons?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad. But I'm curious, though. I'm curious because, nowadays to buy 500 acres in a shot is difficult. But you were doing it back then. No one ever told you you're being too ambitious?
It was made sense back then.
Right. So no, it's true. Like this land was really, you bought some of the toughest land though, right?
Yeah. Nobody else looked at it.
Right.
No, any sensible farmer wouldn't consider it. Right. But actually that was the better land for me because it was rough land, rolling, and with rolling land, you didn't lay water and you didn't need to tile it or nothing, and no-till. Yeah, it worked.
Right. So you bought the toughest land that typically you never really had any people are never upset that you bought land typically in general because you're buying land that nobody else wanted.
No.
Right.
No.
The neighbors competition.
No.
That one's good for Harry.
And also spaced out. Also we spaced, but I didn't really care if it was 5 or 10 or 15 miles from home.
Right. That was the other thing.
Yeah, wherever there was a deal, as you might say.
You're spaced out quite a ways. By the time you're got done buying, you're probably from one area to the next. You'd be 40, 50 kilometers.
Yeah.
In distance. Yeah, and what helped that was when transports came along as an option, right?
Well, but there's no-till. You just had to go there with a planter and plant it. And at first, I didn't have a sprayer. Then after a while, but even sprayer, you could just bring water to the field and you're good.
Right.
It wasn't hard no-tilling 40 miles, 40K from home.
Right. Which is again how you thought outside the box. Like other people were not thinking that, right?
They wanted to farm next door.
Right.
But of course that was not an option. I've never
The farm next door was always worth more as a premium.
Yeah, and I've never
That's the rule.
I've never really bought anything north or west of my home either. Just it was too expensive.
Yeah, because of the livestock and that kind of stuff. You bought where there was no livestock, basically.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So we went from there. You really never rented much land, because there was never enough money because you weren't. I mean, you weren't actually
I wasn't a good farmer.
You weren't a very successful farmer.
No.
It wasn't from growing crops that became successful.
No. The cost it was okay, but I wasn't a good farmer. No.
Sure. So tell me the story, Dad. So you're going through life and you're struggling with some years in the 80s. Which years were those been the toughest years for making your payments and that kind of stuff?
From about 82 to 86. Right. It was the way I described to the kids. It was like being in the middle of a lake with a rowboat, and the boat's leaking, and you're bailing and you're rowing, and you're bailing and you're rowing. You say, I don't want to do this anymore. But you don't have a choice. You're in the middle of the lake, and you just had to. I spent about 6-7 years not making any money, breaking even. But I didn't go under, and that was really, really a thrill. I realized that.
Yeah. So the banks are pretty preoccupied with a lot of other individuals, correct? At that time?
I really careful not to show much red ink. Because I wasn't one of their worst customers. Right.
So your numbers had to look good, other than you are decent enough, or not at least too much in the red. So the bank came to you after a while, right? After like 6 years, and they said, "Hey, it doesn't look too good."
Well, these numbers aren't very good. I says, it's okay. He said, I'll have to raise your interest rate. I said, that's good. I said, I'm past the bad spot. And,
Right.
I can get there from here. I don't care about an extra % or two now.
Right.
And of course, after a year or so, that all went away.
Right. So they noticed that you were struggling at that point in time, but they're, by that time you're kind of out of the most difficult time. Interesting enough, too, Dad. You also bought like cheap tractors. You were usually focused on making sure you had a good planter or seeder or drill or whatever, but you just bought like the cheap tractors, right? Your auction sale, you bought the $5,000-$10,000.
That's right.
1066. What was the other case?
Old case tractors.
What numbers were they?
1070.
1070,
Yeah, whatever, all those kinds.
Yeah. So the case were, the internationals were much 1370. Yeah. The international much better tractor, right? The case always had issues, right, Dan?
Oh yeah, they weren't very shiny, but everybody knew that.
Yeah, but they wouldn't get through a season.
No, most of them didn't.
So you would start off with like what 6-7 of these tractors?
Yeah.
And so when they broke down, you just pull them off the side of the road.
Yeah, on the field. Let's edge of the field. We'll get them later.
Go plant around it or whatever you had to do.
Yeah.
Then you go pick it up after the season.
Yeah.
And then bring them back and fix them during the winter time.
Or scrap them.
Scrap them.
Yeah.
And go get another one.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're busy planting. You didn't get a combine for quite a few years.
No.
You how many acres would you have had by the time you got a combine?
Oh, I don't know, a couple thousand.
Couple thousand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Up to even a couple thousand, you never even own no combine. You get something custom and done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because for you, it didn't economically make sense until that point in time. Yeah. Interesting. So it was the concept of knowing your numbers, not overspending, not spending on tile, not spending even on fertilizer much, Dad.
No.
Fertilizer or tile.
Yeah. No.
Right.
No, but I wasn't growing real good crops, but it was basically getting by. Yeah.
Right. And so then you got into biosolids, liquid biosolids partway through?
Oh, that was farther on.
Yeah, farther on.
Yeah.
And so why would you, they had these meetings, Dad, and everybody had an opportunity to get biosolids.
Yeah, the very first meeting I ever came to is where I signed up.
Right.
Yeah.
So
cheap for free fertilizer. I mean, that wasn't hard to figure.
Right. So you saw that.
No, what I mean by free is that they signed up your fields and they put cake on, and that was free.
Right.
Okay. And that still happens today.
I believe so.
So
you're right.
Yeah. So there was you signed it up, and not every field qualified. They tested it and all that stuff.
Sure.
So yeah.
Sure. So for you, it was a no-brainer. For you, it's just like this just makes sense. Go do it. Right.
Yeah.
And so then you got into the pelletized fertilizer biosolids
because the edges you couldn't get the edges done.
Right.
You see, the edges they wouldn't allow the setbacks, so you could put. So I tried to get pallets for that, and I couldn't get any. I says, well, they kept telling me maybe try to find them, and I finally said, well, I knew they didn't like the guy that was doing it. I says, well, if I take them all, will you let me have them? I says, I think we can do that. And so we cut a deal, and so out of Windsor, all the pallets out of Windsor, we made a deal for so much a ton, and we got the pallets out of Windsor, and that's as far as I ever got. By the time I had all I needed and enough for most of my neighbors, and so that worked out really nice. So after that, we had lots of fertilizer, lots of it.
And the reason why you wanted the biosolid or organic based fertilizer versus just regular fertilizer, was there any reasons other than economics for you?
Well, yeah, there's. Of course, you have what you get is phosphorus and nitrogen. There, not much potash.
Yeah.
And but I wasn't putting any potash on before to speak of because the numbers on my old clay grounds. I wasn't taking enough fertilizer. I wasn't growing good enough crops to actually lower the potash. But when I started doing biosolids, I had to start putting potash on because the crops got better, and I was depleting the potash in the fields. So that's where, Back to the question, what was...
But like, was it for the fertilizer purposes, or is it for the other micronutrients, organic matter? Or what's the deal?
No, the organic matter. The organic matter. See, most of my land was derelict land, and never got any organic matter for the last 50 years. And now finally I was getting organic
the rotation,
matter.
you didn't have a great rotation either and that kind of stuff, right?
No.
Right.
I couldn't afford to grow corn, and I grew wheat as I could. And
Yeah. So you're on a more beans wheat rotation than anything at the point in time. Interesting. So you done that, got in the biocells, got on the fertilizer part of that of the biocells, and then 2012 came along. Roger and I started doing the farming, that kind of stuff. So then you kind of start trying to figure out the rest of your life, what you're going to do and that kind of stuff. At that time, what age would you have been? 2012. So we're 10 years ago, you'd be 62, 63 years of age. Yeah.
2012 was my last farming year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
best yielding corn.
Pardon?
Best yielding corn, I think.
Oh, it was the best crop year, the best economic year ever in my life.
Right.
I mean, I made more that year than likely, that all the previous years.
Yeah. It was just a great cropping year.
Yeah.
Got the crops in early that year. Yeah. So I didn't start this conversation by talking about this, but you also raised six sons, and then you had 6 more adopted children afterwards, right?
Well, we weren't really looking for more kids. We
Right.
started doing some foster parenting, and then every so often they forget to pick up the kids. So what are you supposed to do, eh?
Right. So that was obviously made life fairly busy for you also.
For mama.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the time you're out there just reading the next magazine or paper or whatever article you're reading. So yeah, I do remember that until things got a little too chaos, and then you wake up from it, right? And you're like, oh shoot, something's happened out there.
It was good. It was a real thrill. No, we've been really blessed. Yeah.
So going back to the farming just for a second, what in your eyes on a farming basis, a young guy's trying to go to farming, right? We're talking, anywhere from 15 to 20 on the low end on land costs. We're talking 7% interest right now. Doesn't seem like it's doable to be a farmer right now as a young individual that doesn't have.
We're the same as the early 80s. In the early 80s, land, well, of course, I don't know where this goes, but the early 80s, land went down to half. And everything in bankruptcies, all the first land I bought was bankruptcy land.
Right.
But it was at a different price, and nobody wanted it, and that's everybody got terrified of agriculture, especially the bad land.
Right.
And we don't know the future, but this doesn't work. If you take 15 an acre at 7%, and 7 is pretty reasonable. As a matter of fact, the other day I had some GICs come due, and last week, and they for 1 year they gave me 7%.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was an oddball. Like, it was again as a guy that I work broker. It was not my own finding, but it was one that it was some little, they find these little deals.
Sure.
Yeah, 7%. I get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking for 5.5. I was hoping. But that was, he says the normal rate's 5.5, but
because they got to make a point or a couple points on top of that when they do the numbers back.
But it was a Bank of Canada thing, right? So I was like, well, there's no worry about. Well, not so sure, no worry, but it still wasn't some oddball thing.
Sure. So what do you recommend? Like, so this is not great.
No.
What do you recommend?
But in life, if the ship's going down, you certainly don't book a spot. Right. In life, there's always opportunities, but it's never. It's always where nobody is looking. And just like, so my parents were immigrants, and but they hit things at the right time, and agriculture was where it was at. For my parents, they bought my dad and uncle bought 150 acres, and I think they paid around $12,000 for 150 acres, and that done them really nice. But that was everywhere, land available, farms, derelict. There was no hydro in the house, nothing. It was pretty tough. Yeah. But that's. I remember when the hydro came to our house.
Right.
Yeah. So, but today, who are the immigrants? People from the Muslim countries, and who runs all the stores today? So they're doing that. Why? Because they're willing to work.
Right.
All the regular folks, and then my parents came as the immigrants that were willing to do the work, and
Right.
agriculture took off.
Yeah.
But it's always it's the people that have the disadvantage. There's a story goes, and a true story, that if you're not born in this country, there's twice as good a chance of becoming a millionaire than if you're born here.
Right.
Too bad about you.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, no, but the concept is that that you have to work harder. You have to learn the language. You have to do all that stuff. And if you do it well enough and work hard enough, then things turn out. But we don't have to be that way. There's opportunities. What are they today in agriculture? I think the main one that I can think of is if you find a farmer that's about 50, 55, his kids are either gone on to the city and stuff like that, and he just really likes farming, but he got nobody left home. Hire yourself on to somebody like that.
Right.
And first of all, you learn everything.
Right.
But there's a really good chance that he'll cut you a bit of a deal.
Oh, yeah.
When the time comes, when he turns my age, he says, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Why don't you do this now?
Right.
And take over from there. Now, you have to be wise about it, and not to be a gold digger or nothing like that, but just be available. And there's all kinds of people like that that are my age that have, but you by the time they're my age, it's too late. You have to. But if you start at age 50, where people don't have kids, and the other thing is, there's one industry that always intrigues me is the pig business. There's tons and tons of pig barns sitting empty.
Right.
There's got to be. I know pigs are horrible right now, but that doesn't always. That's a good time to start.
Right.
But first of all, you have to go and work on a hog farm for 5 years to learn the trade, and learn it really well, and somebody will steer you in some way, and you will be a hog farmer, and you will be prosperous if you're willing to work, and live simple, and really, like I was raised in an immigrant family, and that was my advantage, and we tried to raise our kids with that type of mentality on purpose.
Right. So you're not a big believer in the formal education we have currently, is that correct? Or
well, it came clear to me really early in life that if you went to any town and asked, okay, who are the 5 most successful people in this town, and then were to look at how much schooling they had, you would find they didn't have any. Real schooling.
And you noticed that when you even were doing the sales and that kind of stuff, I was seeing the farmers and that kind of stuff.
Like all my customers at that time were immigrants, and but it's nothing to do with school, the formal schooling part of life. Yes, I believe everybody needs a really good grade 8. Okay, you got to be able to read, write, and understand those kind of things. That's really important.
Yeah.
But for the other stuff, it doesn't make any difference. Yeah, if you want to be a doctor or lawyer, you have to go to school. I get that. And I believe that 20% of our society needs to be well educated to do the stuff that us normal people can't do.
Right. So when it was opportunity for my oldest brother, Glenn, to go through school, go to college, university, you even backtracked it back from that. You said, even when he was in grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, I'm sure you saw his marks not being the best, him having fun, goofing off. What went through your mind in that time period to take a different direction in society? What was happening for you?
Well, Glenn was I was fortunate that he was the oldest, and that he after grade 8, his marks are pathetic, and I said, well, it's 2 more years, you got to go to school till you're 16. That's the rules, I guess. And so I said, either you have good marks when you're done grade 10, or we're not doing this anymore. We're not just going to keep warm for the winter. And anyways, there was nothing to discuss because his marks were just that much worse by the time he finished grade 10. And he did pass, but only 3 out of our 6 boys actually got their grade 10 diploma.
Right. But, so was he okay with that? Was he bothered by that?
No. Everybody else was, though.
He was okay with it?
Yeah, he was okay.
He was okay with it?
Oh, yeah, he was
fine.
Thoroughly. Well, actually, in my farm supply business, I had work, and he loved the people, and he loved the work, and that was good, and he was happy, and it turned out. But, oh, my goodness, my wife, everybody was
Yeah.
not happy about that.
Were you aware that, the rest of the people that you're in society with were going to be bothered and upset with that when you made that decision? You kind of like knew that was going to be a sore spot?
No, we had a deal,
I know you got it with him.
Yeah, no, I said, talk to the next one. That deal's done. No. See,
that didn't bother you, the fact that everybody else was bothered?
No. I mean, you have to be a man of your word.
Right.
That's the deal.
Right.
No. He decided to have poor marks.
You gave him a couple of years, right?
He had the chance. He wasted
sure.
it. Yeah, no. I'm clear on what I'm clear on, and a deal's a deal.
Right. So you kind of bring that personality a bit into even the boards. You were part of the wheat board. You're part of different kind of boards and that kind of stuff. Where you kind of part of the group of men that were part of those wheat boards that kind of broke up the wheat board in the direction that it was going, right? At that point in time. Yeah. And you're kind of able to stand up and say your piece in any situations. What?
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but in general, you have kind of the past. My question is, how do you go about doing that? You just see something and you're just like, this doesn't make sense. You just like say, hey, this doesn't make sense. You just kind of speak your word, or how does that work?
Okay, well, first of all, on the boards, I'm really glad that I spent time on the boards. Not from what we accomplished so much. Well, the wheat board, yes, we were helpful. Lambton was the one that got that working, and and that was good. But it's more what I learned from the people I went there with. There are all those guys in the county that are, they're pretty neat guys. I learned tremendous amount from them. Not so much what we accomplished, but what I learned. Like it was a take home for me. But in the second question is all my life, it was clear to me that everything, all commonly accepted beliefs are incorrect.
Really?
Yeah. So whatever everybody believes is obviously not so.
Why do you assume that? Why is that?
Well, just everything. You name anything. Schooling, for example. Even till this day. Today we have kids going to university and college. I had a friend, a foster daughter that still stays with us at times. And when she turned 30, she still had student debt. I says, lady, I says, you were richer than that when you were born.
Right.
No, I mean, it's a friend,
I know.
Come on. This is horrible. That was impossible when I grew up. See, if you had $100, you could borrow $100 to go with it.
Right.
Yeah, like if you had 10,000, you could borrow 10 to go with it.
Right.
Like I literally couldn't borrow. We bought a farm for 20,000, and the banks would not give us the money for that. The credit union did, but $20,000 for a 95-acre farm.
Right.
Poor farm, mind you.
Yeah, sure.
But still, the banks wouldn't give you the money.
Right.
And I had half of it.
Right. Wow, you had half of it.
Yeah, half it, maybe. Somewhere in that area.
Yeah. So that's crazy. You're right. Like, we can go in debt with nothing, right? Like
the
today, government will say,
credit card debt. Lots of people have $100,000 of unfunded debt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Terrible. Right. I mean, that is just really sad. And it's slavery, because ultimately at the end of life, you can't get married, you can't have kids, you can't do this, you can't do that. But that is the kind of stuff so the rich people like ourselves, the farm trade, yes, we have enough money to bail them out, but that's not, that's not okay. That's so cruel.
Right.
You have to give people a fighting chance.
Right. So the other things that are the things that we commonly accept as correct that are commonly wrong. Was there other things that you can think of?
Well, the government for one.
Right.
Is the government's here to help you.
Right.
Don't ever get too far on that path.
Right.
Because that's, and everything they teach is, look the woke stuff today.
Right.
And you got this. You got things like your climate change, all this kind of stuff. We all know that that's bogus. All of it is bogus. Everything they teach you today is bogus.
Right.
There isn't anything out there, and people believe in this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But and we can get excited about it. But the thing is, it's not our job to try to we can't. Society will believe what society wants to believe,
Right.
But we can still be a light in the dark,
Right.
in the dark world.
Yeah. Speaking of that, so you also went on a spiritual journey a little bit, Dad. Like you were raised in a certain way on a spiritual level, going to a certain church and that kind of stuff. You also had, you done a little research and a little thinking and that kind of stuff, and you decided, hey, it's not serving me in my journey on a spiritual level, right? So, what was that? What's that been like for you?
Well, okay, in the Christian world, we have a Bible. And the 4 Gospels are the teachings of Jesus.
Right.
And we believe that to be central to our faith.
Right.
But yet, that's not what the churches teach. There's maybe 100 different normal denominations out there. Which one's right? And none of them are really following the teachings of Jesus. They go to the Old Testament, they go to Paul's teachings and all that. But just the 4 Gospels is all we need. But that's not where we go.
Right. So you had a struggle where you're going before. So what did you know where you needed to go?
No. I spent 10 years looking for the right.
Right.
I was looking for orthodoxy, which is correct belief.
Right.
And it got to be out there somewhere.
Right.
And didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now your journey is now what, Dad? Like what do you do now? I understand you give out Bibles and that kind of stuff, having the stories we talked about at the beginning. You do 10,000, I understand, a year. 10,000 Bibles. 100,000. Sorry, 100,000 Bibles. Wow.
Yeah, no, but it basically, but I just put them in boxes. I don't. People pick them up.
Right,
I don't really actually.
So how many different stores do you have Bibles?
900.
And do you have like somebody that goes out and does it for you?
Yeah, I do.
You do it, right? And then you're at other places in the summertime, like at different flea markets, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Grand Bend Flea Market and Sundays, and that kind of thing, outreach and so on, where I have a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's been your journey for the last approximately 10 years, is just trying to outreach for people.
I worked at Teen Challenge till COVID for 5 years, and that was really helpful.
Yeah.
But since then I've been just doing the Bible stuff.
And you did a podcast for a bit too.
Couple years
of podcast. What was it called?
YouTube. Simple Gospel Truth.
Simple Gospel Truth, right? So if you want to check that out, it's still up and going, I believe. Yeah.
I'm not doing it anymore. My partner packed it in, so
Sure.
I don't have. And I don't this technology stuff. I don't have any idea on that. Not that I don't believe in it. That's something that I don't believe in. But no, this stuff's all right. But I have no idea. I'm completely crippled on this.
Sure. So, Dad, on the day, the whole society, social media and that kind of stuff, it gets all excited about being wealthy, being rich, right?
Yeah.
And my question to you, what does it mean to be rich in your eyes? Like, what things, like you have, different things in your life and that kind of stuff. What does it mean to be rich now?
Well, rich, okay, yeah. You have to be in. There's a book I read many years ago, and it talked about being in more than one port at the same time. And what he was talking about, some people have all kinds of money, but they don't know their family, they don't know their God, they don't know anything. And other people are really big on family, but can't make a living. And other people, so basically it's a balance, of making enough money so that you can feed your family and help your neighbors and that kind of thing. As much as, not everybody has the same opportunity. Some people are more gifted on making money.
Sure.
And other people, it's sort of like music. I am zero on music, but I do understand a little bit of logic, so not everybody's got the same thing. But, family and it's a matter of, life is actually really, really simple. Let me back up 2 steps here. But really, my motto is get today right. So that's all you have to do. Get today right. And whatever today is in front of you, this is what was offered to me. I hope it's right. But that's the focus. You just get today right. And if you do that for 7 days, you get your week right. And do that 50 times, and you got your year right. And really, that's really all you have to do. But what is looking right is based on your values. If your values are clear, then decision making is easy.
Right.
And that is really, really important. Sort out your values. What do you believe? And then and the decisions come to the top, just like cream rise to the top of the milk.
Right.
It just happens.
It's interesting you said, I remember one other saying you used to have. I mean, I don't know if I was always very productive, and I don't know if I still am today, but Dad would always say, Don't confuse busyness with accomplishment. I remember that one. That was a good one. I'd go. I mean, I didn't like the saying at the time, but it did resonate sometimes.
Oh, and I spent a lot of years of my life being busy, but I wasn't accomplishing much. But I realized that, and then so you have to work your way out of that hole.
Right.
And it's sad. Like people are busy in so many ways, and even in charitable ways, in religious ways, all that. They spend their life on things that are really bogus.
Right.
And that is sad, so sad. Because you have to look for truth. What is truth?
Right.
And truth is available, always available. 2 + 2 = 4. It's not some gray area, know. And in life, there's every aspect of life has truth.
Right.
The truth. But we don't want that, where we want to have something wonky, and of course in the Christian world we believe that God created heaven and earth and all these things, but of course society, 95% of society doesn't want to go there.
Right.
So, but everybody, of course, the Big Bang is something that maybe you were raised on, but when I went to school, it hadn't been invented yet.
Right.
But they keep trying to find some way to discredit God.
Right.
And if you, and first of all, you have to decide, is there a God, and then find out who that God is. And that's central to a life, because then if you can get there, lots of people have a good life without it, but ultimately I do believe that there is a responsibility to that God, and that's where we need to be.
Right.
And in the whole process, to your family and to everybody around you.
Yeah. So I've gone on to a few events and, some very successful people, hundreds of millions net worth and billionaires and that kind of stuff. And a lot of times they don't get the family right, and come back home. I remember the one time specifically I came back home and came back to our year-end get together, right? And came out to the arena that we rented, right? And there was, 30 grandchildren out there, nieces and nephews of mine. And I'm like, wow, whoever done this, he's a wealthy man, right? So I'm just thinking to myself, like, wealth can be seen in so many different ways, and I think a lot of times in society we don't look at it correctly, right? Because we focus on one thing being, a successful wealth is actually having money, but there's so many other layers, right? That actually brings up that wealth side.
Yeah,
So.
but you have to, and trying to understand that, like well, first of all, it starts with your spouse. A lot of people, a lot of opinions on that, but I really believe that even with our spouse, that the idea is that, okay, that's who we're married to. Now, the idea, our responsibility is to the marriage. We've got to be really careful. So many times, a man treats his wife like a queen, and she accepts the crown. And that doesn't work well, or vice versa. She treats her husband like a king, and he accepts the crown, and one person's ruling the marriage. That's horrible. The whole concept is to have both people working on the marriage, serving the marriage. And if we're serving the marriage, then good things happen. But if we're focusing on ourselves or on the other person, that's not okay.
Right.
And then the children and so on, again, they're not, they're not the center of the universe. Today we tell them when they're 3 years old that they're special. I was never told I was special. If I wanted to be special, I had to earn that spot.
Right.
And these children grow up today and they're 20 years old and people aren't clapping anymore for them. And what do you do with that? That's a terrible spot that we've cornered them into. That's not okay.
Right.
That's a really, really sad spot, and that's what we're teaching today.
So Dad, you came from basically no money.
Yeah.
You didn't get there was no money given to you at any period of time.
No.
So you came from no money. You went to the peak of your season, 4,000 acres, probably the peak, close to 4,000.
Well, we only own 3 of that.
Right. And now you have 12 children, half them adopted, some 30, 40 grandchildren. Did you ever see that? And if you didn't see that before, what do you tell somebody? How do you make that how'd that all come to be? Maybe that's my question.
Get today right.
Yeah, back to that.
Yeah. No, and look for truth. What is truth?
Right.
And it's awkward. Like, there's a lot of awkward choices a person makes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You do that kind of alone sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I'm very alone a lot of times. I have a lot of family, but not too many. Not too many share my view.
Yeah.
No. But I'm okay with that.
Right.
I have to be. There's no
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
I'd rather have truth than truth.
Then agreement.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No. A lot of people are looking for. I believe in unconditional love, but not unconditional acceptance. Like there's a huge difference. I love all my family. I love everybody. I love the community, but
Right.
I don't accept their choices.
True.
And a lot of the families not that. They have trouble with that.
Right.
Yeah. No, and
Sure.
I understand that. But
Right.
mother is much more accepting, of their choices than I am. No, and I get that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm totally like love is good.
Yeah.
But acceptance, we can only accept that which is appropriate, which is correct.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a wrap. That was an exceptional, beautiful podcast with you, Dad. An entrepreneur, family man, man of God, all these things, all in one guy. So it's been a pleasure. Thanks for the time. And this is Dirt Grow Podcast. Thanks for tuning in and enjoying the session with us today.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that.
Thanks for listening to Dirt Grow Podcast, where every Tuesday we dish out the dirt. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and check out dirtgrow.com for more content and episodes. I'll see you next Tuesday. Ciao.